all the time, like what they said in that argument, what they said in that time of anger, it exposed who they really are. And I do agree with that in a certain sense, but also I do think that it's deeper than that. Hear me out. I do think that sometimes what people say in the midst of anger, what people say in the midst of hurt or sadness or grief or trauma, that's usually an unhealed part of themselves. Recently, I had an encounter, and this grown man who I know is a mighty man of God actually said some things that sound like a child, right? It sounds like a little boy. And I was like, what is that? And the Lord ministered to me, that is the unhealed part of him that he has not dealt with, that he has not actually faced. And a lot of times in the midst of arguments, in the midst of disagreements, in the midst of anger, in the midst of sadness, in the midst of grief, in the midst of all these different emotions that we can go through as human beings, as mankind, it will expose that little piece of you that has not been healed yet. And it included myself. I have some triggers that I didn't even know were triggers until somebody triggered them. Some things inside of me, I'm like, why did that hurt so bad? Somebody said something to me the other day, and I just went to my house and cried, y'all. Cried like a baby. And I thought back, I said, why did I cry like that? It wasn't even that deep. And God told me it's because that's the part that you have not all the way faced. That's the part that you didn't even know existed. Those are eggshells that you didn't even know were on the ground. So what I was referring to is actually called trauma triggers. And it's a person, place, or even things that can send you into a state or trigger you into a state where you feel as if you just experienced that trauma. So when somebody is triggered, they can respond a number of different ways, but these are 4 common ways.
The fight, flight, freeze, and fawn responses, which are trauma responses that occur in the body when it perceives a threat. These are natural survival mechanisms that prepare us to deal with danger. Here's a breakdown of each response. Fight. When your body feels it can confront the threat. This might involve anger, aggression, or a need to control the situation. Signs can include a tight jaw, grinding teeth, or an urge to punch. Flight. The instinct to escape or avoid the threat. This could mean physically leaving a situation or emotionally distancing yourself. Signs include feeling fidgety, tense, or needing to constantly move. Freeze. When neither fighting nor fleeing feels possible. The body shuts down or becomes immobile to avoid detection or minimize harm. This can lead to feeling numb, dissociated, or unable to act. Fawn. This response involves trying to please or appease the threat to avoid conflict or harm. It's often seen in people who learned that being accommodating was the safest option. Signs include difficulty setting boundaries, people-pleasing, or fearing saying no. While these responses are helpful in genuinely dangerous situations, they can become problematic when they're triggered by non-threatening events or situations that aren't life or death. It's important to remember that these responses are involuntary and not your fault. If you find that these responses are impacting your quality of life, consider speaking with a mental health professional. They can help you identify your response patterns and develop coping strategies to better manage them.
And if you find yourself triggered, here are 12 tips to help you with those trauma triggers. So I just stopped by to say sometimes it is not who that person truly is. It is some kind of trauma or some type of hurt or a childhood issue that they have not dealt with yet. And you have to make a choice. Are you willing to help them through that issue, or do you need to pray about it and just take a step back? But I love y'all. I hope that helps somebody. Sometimes it's not that person. It really is something in the inside. All right, y'all.